Does not in any way contravene that. I mean, investing in your own security, investing in your own defence capability does not contravene military neutrality.
Households are being told to prepare for no one-off energy credits to help pay bills. Annual bills for gas remain 90% higher and 60% higher for electricity than they were 5 years ago. However, the government says there will be targeted supports. Sinn Féin's finance spokesperson Pearse Doherty says his party would change the way the market operates.
The fact that they are not recognising the severity of this here, when you've got 230,000 households across the state that are in arrears with their electricity bills and 160,000 households in arrears in their gas bills, and the minister comes on and says we're not doing any supports, that is just completely tone deaf.
Interest rates have been cut by the European Central Bank for the second time this year. They're being reduced by 1/4%. Tracker mortgage holders will benefit immediately, while there's likely to be continued downward pressure on savings rates. ECB President Christine Lagarde says with global uncertainty, more cuts are not guaranteed.
We are not pre-committing to a path. And you might have some governors who will say that, I believe that it is their individual views. I can assure you that the collective view around the table is that we do not pre-commit to a path.
Industrial action at Dublin Bus has been suspended following talks today. SIP2 representatives met with Dublin Bus this afternoon to try and resolve a pay dispute for its engineering operatives. The operatives who refuel and clean the buses had implemented a work-to-rule since Sunday, after a proposal for a 14% pay increase was rejected. That's it for now. We'll have news again in an hour.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Swap the scarf for Speedos with Ryanair's low-fare summer flights to the beaches of Nice, Lanzarote or Paphos.
Outbreaks of rain and drizzle in Atlantic areas will slowly move eastwards across the western half of the country through the evening. A few isolated light showers may occur further east, scattered or patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle, with lowest temperatures 5 to 9 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Optimum Nutrition, the official performance nutrition partners of the Gaelic Players Association and Leinster Rugby.
This is News Talk.
Good evening, you are welcome along to Thursday night's Off the Ball. It's Owen here with you until 10 o'clock this evening. We're going to be chatting to Andy Dunn from 7:30 tonight. The Ireland team has been announced for the France game at the weekend, and the top line is that Mac Hansen is out with an injury and that Jamie Osborne is going to start on the wing. After 8 o'clock, we're going to be chatting with Ciarán Kilkenny about the new rules and about the changing face of this Dublin team. Today, it's basically been confirmed that John Small is stepping away from the Dublin setup, so we'll get Ciarán Kilkenny's take on that after 8. Also in the 8 o'clock hour, we're speaking to one of the most impressive young sports people in Ireland right now. It's Offaly's Alex Dunn, who's getting ready for his first season in Formula 2 racing. So this is obviously, as the name suggests, one step away from Formula 1. And when you hear the interview between 8 and 9, he's a very confident young man, rightly so, and he's very confident that he will eventually get a seat in Formula 1. So a massive Irish sports story potentially developing there. The season kind of follows Formula 1, so he'll be racing in Melbourne next week. So that's one to keep an eye on next week, not just the 20 top-class Formula 1 drivers. And then on the football show from 9 o'clock, we've got Thursday Night Football with John Giles, and Nathan was speaking to Stephen Bradley a little earlier on as well ahead of tomorrow night's clash with St. Pat. So we'll play that out between 9 and 10. So loads happening. Busy day of sport, which we'll get in the news round very shortly via Cameron Hill. Cameron, good evening to you. I hadn't said good morning in a long time.
Yeah, what's that about?
You okay? It's a bit of a throwback. Nathan, how are you?
I'm all right.
We were having this conversation yesterday, Nathan, you and I off air, about how our lives have been appreciably affected negatively by the fact that the Irish football team hasn't been qualifying for major tournaments. All the summers of love we've missed out on, all the summers of joy, all the great tournaments, all the great places we could have gone if Ireland was good at football. So really good timing that our friend Ignacio Alonso spoke up earlier on today at FIFA Council. Of course, Ignacio Alonso is the president of the Uruguayan Football Association. And he's like, the Irish have had it too hard for too long. We should have a 64-team World Cup for 2030. And Ignacio, I couldn't agree more with you. This is the most sensible initiative I've ever heard from a football executive. And Ireland I'm going to go ahead and speak on behalf of the whole country. We are in favour of Ignacio Alonso's idea.
Do we have links to, like, I know there's an Irishman who set up the Argentinian Navy, and then there's a few Irish who are involved in the Chilean army. Is there similar links to Uruguay, I wonder?
A whole heap of Christian brother teachers would have brought their Catholicism to Uruguay down through the years. So that's our line there. But we should be getting behind us, right? With everything that we can.
Again, everybody, we sort of spend the intervening 2 years between every major tournament bemoaning the size of the tournament, then bemoaning the fact we can't qualify no matter how big it gets. And then the tournament comes around and they're always bloody enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I mentioned at the end of last year, Georgia-Turkey was as good a game of football as I've seen in years and years because it meant so much to the people of Georgia and Turkey. Georgia wouldn't have been there if this wasn't an expanded tournament. We'd no place for the Georgia back in the day, but now we found a way to get them in, and they bring something. It's the pinnacle of their sporting existence. This could be the pinnacle of ours. So listen, anything that gets us in. Of course, there's still the risk that we don't qualify.
Oh, yes, there certainly a risk would be, putting it mildly. How many teams would there need to be in a World Cup for Ireland to have good confidence around qualifying for?
Oh, it's a great question, Owen.
It feels similar to a question that was asked recently.
I still feel that we have a chance of qualifying for the next World Cup. I think the draw...
Which is how many teams?
Somewhat favourable. 48.
48. Good knowledge.
So they have increased, obviously, the number, and that means we're going to be in a 4-team group. If we finish in the top 2, we'll get ourselves a playoff, and it's a complicated process from there on in. But who knows? Just maybe. And now, listen, maybe, as it always happens, you sort of move 3 or 4 weeks past the last international window and sort of Men in Black style, you forget everything that happened, and we zone in on the talented players that we have and realise, actually, everyone has talented players, and a lot of them have more than we have. But, yeah, I still think the next one is 50-50. But what is it, 26? How's it 2016? That's 9 years ago since we last qualified for a major tournament. Yeah, we've missed a lot of good summers. Like, the first time I ever covered the Republic of Ireland was the start of the Steve Staunton reign. And I really feel like I joined the party bus at the wrong time.
Yeah, you're Tony Serrano coming in at the end there.
I haven't seen The Sopranos, so don't ruin it for me and all the other people.
Maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're the problem. You see the likes of Philip Quinn hanging up his laptop there last week, and you're like, God,
he's got like 4 books from the great days.
Yeah.
Well, we did the maths earlier that there's 211 confederations in FIFA, right? So what, a 212 team World Cup should see us through?
That's it.
Well, that would be around, so if you brought it up to 64, you'd be at sort of a similar rate to qualifying for the Euros, where basically, somewhere between the third and a half of teams who go into qualifying end up getting to the tournament.
So we can get closer, but probably deliver ourselves more agony would be the outcome. But I'm up for that. I'm up for that.
The other thing you always have to remember, the more you increase it, the more playoffs you end up with, is generally how this goes. So whereas once upon a time we'd only have one agonising heartbreak of a playoff, like for the next World Cup, you're going to have a semi-final and a final of the playoff. So you could win a playoff match and then you have to go to another one.
Fun.
Yeah.
The pain never ends.
Well, I mean, I think we'd be doing well to be in there. Republic of Ireland are back out very soon. There's going to be a squad announcement next week.
Thursday.
Next Thursday,
yeah. There's a few stories around that today. Josh Honohan, it seems, is on the long list.
Oh.
So Stephen Bradley was doing his media today. I never asked him about this, obviously. I took a leaf out of your book and, missed the obvious question there.
Whoa.
I've just go back to the Joe Canning thing, missed the story. I always just go back to that. You've asked some good questions since then.
I basically asked the question, but I was given information that was soon to change.
Right. I didn't even ask the question.
Right.
Others did though, and it seems Josh Honohan is on the long list. So there's a long list of 40 down to 23 now. Whether he'll make it, and that Rocco Vata is probably on the long list. As well, because there's been a bit of speculation in the last couple of days from Albania that they were planning on naming him in their squad. Now he's given no indication that he's going to go and play for Albania. So maybe they might just go, let's throw him on in there. Bulgaria are in crisis. They don't have too many recognisable names. When you look at their squad, this feels like a winnable and a really important playoff. So the first leg is on this day 2 weeks.
Right, so it is close.
This day 2 weeks, and then the second leg back in Dublin on the following Sunday. It's in Plovdiv. Hard place to get to. It's the second city of Bulgaria, the Cork of Bulgaria. Difficult spot. It's about 3 hours from Sofia. So it's not the easiest of destinations for Ireland supporters.
But you will be there.
Trek to. I will be. I'm having to leave on Monday to get there.
Right, not next Monday.
Not next Monday. Maybe.
Yeah.
Paddy's Day.
But like, I mean, it's important that you do this, that you kind of like retrain the mind almost to get us back into international football. The last time the Republic of Ireland men's team played a game was the hammering in Wembley. So that's how long it's been, because I can barely remember that.
Yeah, but because we beat Finland just before that, and we got the 2-win, we got finally a win in the Nations League, we all felt a little bit better about life. And then we sort of went, well, England are on a different plane to us anyway, so we can somehow excuse that second half collapse. But this, again, has an importance because of the Nations League, and this is a playoff, and we don't want to drop down to League C and all of that sort of stuff. But also it does feel it sort of sets the tone for what's to come over the rest of the year. If Ireland win this, you're heading into the World Cup qualifiers. Everyone's a bit more positive about things. We've beaten Finland, we've beaten Bulgaria. If you lose this, you're into his contract is up at the end of this year. What happens next? And if we can't beat Bulgaria, how the hell are we going to beat Hungary?
Yeah, no, it's fair.
Anyways, we have a good week. We've got a couple of weeks to talk about all this.
It is. The fact that we're talking about the Republic of Ireland versus Bulgaria would sum up how poor a fare Real Sociedad versus Manchester United has been tonight. Joshua Zirkzee, though, has just put the ball into the back of the Real Sociedad net, so Manchester United can score goals. It turns out the first half had been an absolutely terrible watch, it's fair to say. Alejandro Garnacho had a big opportunity early in the second half as well. So 67 minutes on the clock there, Manchester United are 1-0 up. We were also watching a little bit of Troy Power playing for AZ Alkmaar earlier on. He got the last touch before Lucas Bergvall put the ball into his own net in hilarious fashion after 18 minutes. So AZ Alkmaar 1-0 up after 68 minutes in that game. But it is with the rugby we're going to start in the news round tonight, Cameron.
Yeah, Ireland captain Caelan Doris has been named to start in Saturday's crucial Six Nations game against France. So Mac Hansen, Tyg Furlong and Ronan Kelleher are unavailable due to injury. In all, interim head coach Simon Easterby has made 4 changes to the starting team from the win over Wales a fortnight ago. Hugo Keenan takes Hansen's place, so Jamie Osborne moves from fullback to wing. Bundy Aki replaces the suspended Gary Ringrose in midfield. He links up with Robbie Henshaw there. Finlay Bealham is back at tight head, so Thomas Clarkson drops to the bench and is joined there by Jack Conan due to the return of Doris. Bealham, Conan and Doris are all in line to make their 50th caps for Ireland this weekend, while Conor Murray and Cian Healy are also on the bench as Ireland have gone for a 6-2 split. Simon Easterby outlined the reasons why today.
There's a number of reasons why we've done it. One is that we have a bit of flexibility in Jamie's position, him covering majority positions in the back line. We felt with Caelan, who's done incredibly well to get back to full fitness and done a brilliant job himself, but also with the medical staff, has been able to get himself right from an injury, which other players might not have been able to do that in the short space of time. But we needed to make sure that we had good coverage in the back row. The guys that did start in Wales, in Jack Conan, was very good. He's come off the bench well, but also Ryan Baird came off the bench in Cardiff, and James Ryan did as well. So we just felt like the dynamics of that pack and the way that France might play the game meant that we felt like that was a really nice, chunky sort of back five of our scrum being able to come on and make an impact.
Simon needs to be speaking there. We'll get Andy Dunn's take on this from 7:30. And Bruno Fernandes has handled the ball in his own box. So Mikel Oyarzabal is stepping up for a penalty for Real Sociedad. And Manchester United ahead for a couple of moments there thanks to that Joshua Zirkzee goal. And the referee is just stepping back. We'll see how Oyarzabal does with this quick little stutter step into the back of the net. It's 1-1 Real Sociedad 1, Manchester United 1 after 70 minutes.
Cameron loves a big goal against English opposition.
He does actually, yes. Himself and who was the other scorer in the final?
Mikel Merino scored the other one.
Mikel Merino certainly scored a few important goals last summer. So camera pans to Bruno Fernandes afterwards. Disappointed, bit harsh I must say, but once he went to VAR it was always going to be a handball.
Captain.
Yeah, I know. I know it's been a bad couple of weeks for Bruno Fernandes. Where do you want to go next, Cameron?
We'll go with the France team because France head coach Fabien Galtier has included the injury doubt Gregory Aldrit at number 8 for this weekend's game in Dublin. Antoine Dupont and Romain Ntamack are the half-back combination, while Thomas Ramos is at full-back for Les Bleus. They've also elected for a 7-1 split on the bench, as they did in their last match against Italy. So 7-1 going up against 6-2 there. In the other team news from today, Wales interim head coach Matt Sherratt has named an unchanged team for Saturday's trip to Scotland. Hooker Dewey Lake returns from injury to take his place on the bench. Wales hoping to end their 15-game losing run in Test matches at Murrayfield, while Darcy Graham has been recalled to the starting lineup for the hosts. The Edinburgh wing missed a defeat to England with concussion but returns to the first 15 in Gregor Townsend's only change. Glasgow's Kyle Rowe drops to the bench for that match.
Text in here saying absolutely no way in block caps to a 64-team World Cup. If we're not good enough, then we're simply not good enough. No pity. F stars. I don't know. I'll take all of your pity and all of your patronisation just to invite us along to the party.
Well, that World Cup as well is already a bit all over the shop, isn't it? Where it's going to take place in several continents and certain countries hosting one game. Mm-hmm. So it's already, jump the shark here. Like it's not the World Cup we grew up with. It's not that beautiful binding folder behind you of World Cup Italia 90 where we knew exactly what we were getting, the best of the best, and we were amongst them. Now it's a bit of a free-for-all in every possible way. So why not just keep adding countries? And we haven't had the 48-team World Cup, so let's see how 2026 goes.
Yes, exactly. And I will happily jump the shark with Jules Rimet and just go along with its whole tournament. I will happily fly to 3 separate continents if the Republic of Ireland are at that World Cup. We want to get to this next story, Cameron. We don't have an item on it tonight, but I'm sure we'll be talking about it plenty between now and July.
Yeah, Katy Taylor will square off with Amanda Serrano in a trilogy bout in this July, but it won't be in Croke Park. So the Bray boxer will once again defend her super lightweight titles against the Puerto Rican fighter in Madison Square Garden, having most recently defeated her in a rematch in Texas last November. The bout will headline an all-female card in New York on July 11th, with Netflix securing live streaming rights once again.
Yeah, the Netflix securing streaming rights is an interesting thing on this as well. It's no surprise, obviously, but people will remember the commentary was pretty one-eyed last time. Rosie Perez on CoCom on Netflix. I wonder, is there a chance that they might try and level it up and say, Katie, you can select anybody you like to come and join the commentary team? Who would we put forward as the Irish/Hollywood representative that would be kind of like a Trojan horse for influencing the viewer?
You're thinking more of a sort of Cillian Murphy, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Well, I mean, that's
Barry Keoghan type.
Listen, I think Roddy Collins won't be doing much in July.
There you go.
Send him over.
Roddy Collins on the Katy Taylor fight. That would be the shout.
Well, Roddy knows his boxing.
Yeah.
Yep. Possibly too much for the role that's actually in question here. I mean, just saying what everybody was thinking. Also, the fact was that they didn't interview Katie's coach in the corner during the last fight. It was Jordan Maldonado kind of mouthing off about Katy Taylor throughout the fight, and there was no right of reply whatsoever. So this party political broadcast of Team Serrano on Netflix again, I wonder, is that what we're all expecting in July?
Yes, I would say, in all likelihood. That fight, more than any other sporting event, made me question my relationship with commentators and co-commentators, because I was totally bought into everything. I don't know enough with my own eyes as to what I'm watching when it comes to a fight like this. So I fully believe what they are telling me to be the gospel.
Even if it's Rosie Perez? I have seen White Men Can't Jump, and she did an excellent actor. I will absolutely trust her boxing insights in this fight. But that's the thing, is people will be carried away by this and take everything that they say as gospel. And I think, was it Shakur Stevenson was tweeting around the fight saying that they've been trying to brainwash the audience or something along those lines. So you are one of those people that got brainwashed.
Hopefully they don't have put a Scientologist on it or something. Ian Brain by the end of the commentary.
By the way, Richie's re-released all of our post-fight stuff from the second fight. That's available for free now wherever you get your Off the Ball podcast. So just search for Taylor Serrano 2. We had representatives from both sides in the aftermath of that crazy fight, and obviously the aftermath was so dramatic as well. We had Eddie Hearn, we had Ross Enamite, and a few other voices as well. So you can get that now wherever you listen to your podcasts. Where next, Cameron?
Well, we got news just before we came on air that the forthcoming Antrim versus Armagh Ulster Senior Football Championship game will now be held at Park Esler in Newry on Saturday the 12th of April. So Antrim had previously said that they'd only play that game at Corrigan Park, and Ulster GAA have released a statement this evening saying in reaching this decision the committee sympathised with Antrim GAA's situation, which reiterates the need for Casement Park to be redeveloped as a matter of urgency.
Be interesting to see what the Antrim response to this is. I don't suspect they're going to be overly happy with this outcome.
Yeah, the reports at the time a couple of weeks ago when they proposed Corrigan Park at the Ulster Council meeting were that the expectation was that they would get their way and the game would take place there. Now, there's a clear complication around season tickets and the capacity of the stadium, which is in or around 4,000 and somewhere like 3,000 season tickets sold to our Armagh supporters, and you're entitled to a ticket for the game. So if all of them are to be let in, that doesn't leave very many tickets for obviously the Antrim supporters. So are they willing to take that hit for Corrigan Park? Obviously, the GAA and the Ulster Council have decided, well, they're not willing to take that hit.
Yeah, and we've seen this situation develop in the past with Gaelic games, Newbridge and Nowhere being one of the most famous instances. You also had the Rinnet or Binnet situation down in Cork as well a couple of years ago when Páirc Uí Chaoimh was seen as the alternative for a game against Kerry.
Did you just make that one up?
No, Rinnet or Binnet is real. Maybe that wasn't the exact slogan, but there was a Páirc Uí Rin controversy.
I remember that. I don't remember it having such a catchy title.
All of these have catchy titles. That's the only thing this Corrigan Park controversy is missing.
Yeah, well, listen, they may go down they need someone on the 6-1 News, obviously, to make the stand.
Yeah.
Newbridge or Nowhere style. They are the minnows, the way Kildare were that night. God damn it, that was a frustrating experience for all involved, wasn't it?
Well, if you're of a Mayo persuasion, it certainly was. We'll go to the football next, Cameron.
Cool. Shamrock Rovers fullback Josh Honohan is believed, as you said, to be on the long list for the Republic of Ireland squad ahead of their Nations League playoff later this month. Multiple outlets reported today that the Hoops defender is being considered for the squad ahead of that two-legged relegation tie with Bulgaria. A final call will be made next Thursday when Heimer Hallgrimsson reveals his selection for the games in Sofia and Dublin. One player that won't be involved is striker Sammy Smodics. Ipswich Town confirming today he's undergone surgery on an ankle injury. Manager Kieran McKenna explained that the 29-year-old is facing an extended spell on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's going to be a significant period, yeah. It's an ankle injury that he originally picked up with a tackle in the Fulham game and then had a recurrence of it in the Coventry game, and then he had a recurrence of it just after the Man United game. So, yeah, it's going to be out for, I don't know the exact timescale, but it's certainly going to be a good number of weeks, and if we see him this season, it'll be in the last couple of fixtures.
On the when you were talking earlier on about Stephen Bradley and the potential Ireland squad that's going to be named next week, is the potential inclusion of Josh Honan going to be something that's a response to Stephen Bradley's comments, I wonder, a few weeks ago, or is it a pure merit that would have happened regardless?
No, I don't think so. I think if you'd spoken to people at the end of last season, Neil Ferrugia would have been the standout player as one who potentially could have found a way into his squad because of his skill set as well, in that he can play in a variety of different positions. Maybe on the left-hand side in particular, there's a spot opening up, and Callum O'Dowd has been getting selected there, that maybe Neil Ferrugia can be at a similar level. Like, Josh Honan's been exceptional, and again has played in the back three, played in the right wing back position, played in the left wing back position, can cover a lot of options in a 23 player squad, and looks as though he's heading in that direction, that he can play at the very top level, whether that's with Shamrock Rovers as he showed during the European campaign, or ultimately, like all of these players, ends up going over to England. So I don't think I'd be shocked if Hallgrimsson thought the easiest way around this criticism is for me to just include somebody to shut them all up. I don't think that'd be fair on Josh Honan at all. I think if he gets in this squad, it's because his versatility and the level he's got to in a variety of positions over the last year would mean he fully deserves to be.
How close would Dylan Watts have been? I mean, we went into an international window not too long ago where we famously had no midfielders. So, like, with him blowing the lights out in the Conference League, you would have thought that maybe he might have been ahead in the pecking order.
Potentially. I think the thing Honan has is probably a level of physicality in those defensive positions as well. Like, Dylan Watts obviously had an exceptional end to the season, deservedly Footballer of the Year. It does feel that maybe that midfield role is slightly more technical. Maybe the step is a a little bit more.
We should get to the next story. Stephen Bradley talking about a couple of other bits and pieces.
Yeah, he's reiterated that government funding is vital for the delivery of the League of Ireland academies. So you might have remembered that in the programme for government in January, the government stated that they were willing to explore new mechanisms for the creation of football academies within the FAI and the League of Ireland. But Minister for Arts, Media, Communications, Culture and Sport, Patrick O'Donovan, indicated last week that the funding was not imminent. Bradley believes more needs to be done to take ownership for the development of young Irish players.
It's really disappointing because we can't afford to wait a year or 2 years down the line. We need it now. The league is in a good place. It's grown. It's getting bigger in every aspect. We need to keep that momentum going. We can't think we'll be okay. And funding like that is so important for each and every club throughout the country, for the development of our young players. Brexit has given us an opportunity to have most of our young players stay here till 18 at least. We've got to take ownership of that and responsibility for that now, and put everything in place to try and develop them. And that funding is vital for us being able to do that.
Red flags here, Nathan?
Absolutely, because I remember talking to Thomas Byrne, the outgoing Minister for Sport, Junior Minister for Sport, and that was the day the election was called, as far as I remember, or certainly maybe the day before. And I asked him about would this impact on funding, and he basically said no, that listen, once it's so far down the track, we've a couple of things to get sorted with the Memorandum of Understanding with the FAI, but once that's done, this is going to come straight away when a new government is in place. So to then hear the words it's not imminent, now we still don't know what that means, whether that's a 1 month, 2 month delay, or whether it's part of the programme for government and it'll get done at some stage. Like you outlined there, arts, media, communications, culture and sport, it's obviously been brought up a lot through the years that there's so much in that. And I think the worrying part was Patrick O'Donovan was, it felt, saying, well, obviously there's some other big issues going on over here with other parts of the department. We're not really focusing on that right now. And that's where you'd hope actually he just leaves this to the junior minister, Charlie McConalogue, to push this through, because every passing 6 months, 12 months, it gets more dire for Irish football. We're missing out on crucial contact hours and we're only falling further behind. So it is as urgent as any sports funding is right now.
We're completely out of time, but just one other bit from the newsround that we haven't got. Speaking of Shamrock Rovers, that Rusha Littlejohn is being linked to the club, Nathan. This would be a huge boost to the league if somebody of that profile came in. I'm sure, obviously, they're looking at this totally from a footballing standpoint, and she'd be one of the standout players in the league, if not the standout player. But straight away then you've got a character that everybody's interested in to talk about when it comes to the league. Absolutely, and it looks like it would work for both parties. She obviously needs football. She was in the national team and the first game played very well, but can't go too much longer without first team football. There's more games next month, and as you say, I think for the league, talent wise she'd be very comfortable, but also personality wise would add a huge amount. Yeah, for sure. And a reminder as well, the European Athletics Indoor Championships are getting underway this evening. It's your sort of 4x400 mixed relay notification that's getting underway this evening. Yeah, it's in a velodrome. So the track is a slightly different shape. It's a lot tighter, which means that the finish line is a lot closer to the turn than it normally would. So they're all sort of wondering what impact this. It basically means as you come around the turn, it's going to be impossible to have that final kick because there just isn't enough room to make that final kick to get past somebody. Mixed 4x400 is at 10 to 9. That's the final. That's your notification for that. Cameron, thank you for tonight's news round. Nathan, we'll chat to you during the football show. The news round has been brought to you by Optimum Nutrition. To unlock more you, choose Optimum Nutrition. Time for the cash machine.
News Talk's cash machine.
Now, after another big winner last week, there's another huge amount in the Reloaded Cash Machine this week. The number you need to know is €100,000 exactly. Text play to 57557. That's 57557. Get your entry in by 3 p.m. on Friday. Then across the Go Loud network of stations, someone will get that call. If your phone rings, answer it within 5 rings. Give us the exact amount in euro and cent, and you will win the cash. So remember that amount one more time. €100,000 exactly. Over 18s only. Text cost €2.50 plus your standard message rate to play. You're playing across the Go Loud network of stations, and terms and conditions are on newstalk.com.